Imagine this. You wake up in the middle of the night, heart racing. There's no sound, no intruder, no danger, just silence. Yet in that silence, something gnaws at you. You reach instinctively for your phone or food or a glass of wine, anything to soothe the sudden, inexplicable emptiness. The glow of the screen distracts you. The taste floods your mouth. The rush numbs the edge. But even as the craving is fed, something inside whispers, "This isn't nourishment, it's escape." Now ask yourself, escape from what? You may not want to hear the answer, because it is larger than hunger or thirst, larger than boredom or stress. It is the hum of a deeper ache, cloaked in the disguise of addiction. Whether your vices are socially acceptable, scrolling endlessly, caffeine on repeat, or quietly private, hidden in shame, they all trace back to one frightening truth. Your cravings reveal something about your soul that you don't dare face directly. That's why they grip you. Addictions are not random. They are not simply weaknesses of willpower or chemical misfirings of the brain, though biology plays its part. They are symbols, signals, mirrors. They point toward the cavern at the center of your being that ordinary life never quite manages to fill. And here lies the paradox we twist away from. The very things we condemn ourselves for, the compulsions we try to suppress, may be the exact messengers of our deeper need. So let's risk the question. What if your addictions, instead of being only evidence of failure, are also a kind of secret confession? What if they are the soul's way of saying, "This is where I hurt. This is where I hunger. This is the absence I cannot name"? It is a terrifying thought, because suddenly that late-night snack, that endless binge watch, that extra drink or drag or click, none of it is trivial. Each is a cipher, a symbol of something unspoken. Addiction, once you strip away the stigma, is not just about substances or behaviors. It is about the shape of the emptiness beneath them. And if that is true, then the question that shadows you is no longer, "Why can't I stop?" The question becomes, "What am I silencing? What truth about myself have I buried so deeply that I can only approach it through repetition, craving, compulsion?" There is an unsettling paradox at work here. Your addictions at once destroy you and guide you. They numb your awareness, yet they also trace an outline of your deepest needs, like dark ink soaking slowly through paper. They harm you, yes, but they also reveal where your soul refuses to settle for half-truths. Addiction is both your cage and your map. Now reflect. Have you noticed how addictions rarely disappear when one is conquered? Stop smoking, and suddenly you eat more. Quit drinking, and you scroll endlessly. Give up social media, and you bury yourself in work. The object shifts, but the craving remains. This is because the true hunger is deeper than any single outlet. The drug or habit is just the mask. The real face hiding underneath is the yearning of your spirit, the unclaimed tension between who you are and who you might be. This drags us closer to the great unsettling question. If every addiction is a false answer, then what was the true question it tried to answer? Pause for a moment and let that land. Behind every impulse is the echo of a question. Am I enough? Do I matter? What is the weight of the days I live? What is this emptiness pulling at me when everything else seems full? No one asks these questions out loud at the dinner table, but your addictions whisper them every hour in secret. They function like shadows, never quite visible when stared at directly, but faithfully tracing the form of your light. And if you are willing to listen, truly listen, to the shadow your addictions cast, you will hear the most haunting mystery of them all. The insight that what enslaves you also points toward your possibility. Because what you crave most destructively is secretly what you need most desperately, but transformed, reoriented, faced in the light rather than hidden in the dark. This is why addiction is sacred in a dangerous way. It drags you to your knees, yes, but it also drags you to the source. If you dare interpret it honestly, it tells you something about your soul that comfort and distraction never will. And here comes the paradox we will wrestle with together. What if your addictions are not telling you you are weak? What if they are telling you You are deeper than you have admitted. So here is the great question, the one that will thread itself throughout everything that follows. When your craving seize you, when the compulsion tempts you, when the old cycle swallows another day, what is the truth about your soul that you are trying not to feel? That question is not an invitation to guilt. It is an invitation to revelation. Addictions are not merely enemies to fight, they are riddles to solve. And riddles, if you answer them honestly, always reveal more of who you really are. Let us walk deeper now, beyond appearances, into the shadowed roots of the problem. If addictions are signals, then where do they arise? Who placed this hidden architecture inside you? And why does it keep bending you toward repetition? The hidden problem and its psychological, philosophical roots. Think of yourself as a child again. The cravings weren't yet cigarettes or alcohol or screens. They were subtler. Approval, laughter, the warmth of being told you'd done well. Even then, you felt the quiet sting of hunger, not for food, but for recognition, belonging, soothing. When you reached for these and were rewarded, a blueprint was written in your body. Addiction doesn't begin with substances. It begins in the nervous system, in its first lesson. What I cannot soothe within myself, I will seek outside myself. That is the hidden problem. Long before you choose your addictions, your architecture of craving has already been laid. Carl Jung called the public mask we learn to wear the persona. Behind it lies the shadow, the parts of us unacceptable to parents, teachers, lovers, society. Every part of yourself that was met with disapproval, the neediness, the anger, the eccentricity, was pushed into exile. But what happens to the exiled parts? They don't vanish. They leak back through addictions. A drink dulls shame. A scroll through glowing screens distracts from loneliness. A shopping spree momentarily rekindles the worth that was denied you. Addiction is the mask's secret tax. Nietzsche saw something similar with his notion of herd morality. Social existence demands conformity. We do as others do, value what they value, fear what they fear. But the herd is not concerned with your authenticity. It is concerned with your compliance. Every compromise you make with authenticity opens a new gap, a gap the soul, restless and restless again, tries to plaster over with compulsions. Hence the paradox. The more obedient you are to expectations, the more ravenous your inner hunger grows. Schopenhauer was blunt. Life is fueled by an endless will that strains and reaches but is never satisfied. It is the endless tug of wanting. To him, desire is suffering itself. In his bleak but piercing view, every human is a prisoner of lack, always thirsting, never complete. Addictions are simply the most visible form of this metaphysical condition. You crave not because you are defective, but because you are alive. And yet, the way you chase satisfaction can either deepen your prison or hint at a deeper form of release. Viktor Frankl, facing the brutality of concentration camps, reframed suffering itself. He taught that survival depends less on pleasure and more on meaning. The hunger we feel is not merely for dopamine, not merely for relief, but for significance. If we cannot locate authentic meaning, then we substitute pleasures, distractions, substances. But meaning denied always sneaks back as addiction. Frankl's insight is harsh medicine. You can suppress the question of why you exist, but your body will insist on asking it through compulsive repetition. Modern psychology strengthens the argument. Neuroscience shows that the brain's reward pathways light up before we even consciously decide. Habits engrave themselves into the basal ganglia, allowing repetition without awareness. Daniel Kahneman's work on System 1 thinking proves how much of our life flows not from deliberate choice, but from unconscious shortcuts. Addictions, then, exploit the very operating system of the brain, hijacking learning loops meant for survival. Eat food, feel reward, repeat. Now it is not berries and water we repeat, but nicotine, scrolling, late-night binges. The machine is the same, the inputs have changed, and society has not remained neutral, far from it. Our entire culture is engineered around amplifying craving because craving is profitable. Aldous Huxley foresaw it with eerie precision when he warned that future societies wouldn't control through fear, but through pleasures, through the domination of distraction. Look around. Infinite scrolls built to hold you captive. Advertisements designed to curate your insecurity. Industries born from your dissatisfaction. Addiction is not an accident of the self. It is a commerce of the soul. Here is the cruel brilliance of it. Society doesn't even need to force you. It only needs to whisper, over and over, that happiness lies just one purchase away, one click away, one drink away. The whisper seeps into neurons like water into roots until it blooms as your own thought. And so, with pride, you call your addictions choices, not seeing that the chessboard was already arranged before you moved your first pawn. Jean-Paul Sartre named this bad faith, when we accept limits and roles as though they were imposed by fate, when in truth, they are the result of unchallenged compliance. Addiction is bad faith engraved in flesh, a surrender to mechanisms we never stop to question. That's just how I am, we say. But what if it isn't? What if it's just the mask doing its work? The hidden problem is not weakness. It is conditioning so complete that you mistake it for your nature. And deeper still, beneath psychology and philosophy, lies biology. Evolution wired us to crave belonging, to dread rejection, to seek stimulation. For hundreds of thousands of years that kept us alive. The tribe that ignored sugar starved in winter. The lone wolf who ignored the pleasure of company perished in isolation. Your addictions are ancient instincts gone feral in a modern world that offers unlimited stimuli without the natural boundaries that once kept desire in check. Your wiring is not defective, it is outdated. Now the paradox clarifies. Addictions are not alien intruders. They are the distorted voice of primal strategies, cultural conditioning, and philosophical evasions. They are the strange offspring of your biology, your upbringing, your society, and your consciousness. When you crave, it is not only a moment of weakness, it is thousands of years of evolution, centuries of cultural pressure, decades of personal scars, all condensing into one electric impulse. And so the hidden problem emerges. Addictions are never just about the substance or the behavior. They are the visible symptom of an invisible inheritance. Psychological repression, cultural manipulation, existential hunger, ancient biology. To defeat them by will alone is like trying to stop a river with your bare hands. The river comes from mountains you cannot yet see. But here is where the tension sharpens. If this is true, then each addiction is not merely personal. It is also collective. It carries the fingerprint of your culture, your family, your history. Look closely, and you'll notice that your personal cravings mirror the larger systems of your world. Societies obsessed with productivity breed addictions to work. Societies obsessed with image breed addictions to appearance, fitness, or cosmetic fixes. Societies obsessed with consumption breed addictions to purchasing, scrolling, and devouring. Your addiction is private in practice but universal in origin. And this is where the dread thickens. If the roots of addiction burrow this deep, into neurons, shadows, cultures, and centuries, what does it really cost us when they go unnoticed? What happens not only to a single individual, but to an entire generation, an entire civilization, when addictions are normalized, rewarded, and even celebrated as lifestyle choices? We need only look at the surface of our lives to see the whispers of catastrophe, but the full magnitude waits in the shadows of consequence. To name those consequences is to see how deeply this story shapes not just you, but your world. And that is where we must go next. The unseen consequences. You've seen hints of it already. The late-night regret, the sluggish mornings, the dull ache in your chest when you know you've repeated the very behavior you swore to avoid. But those are only the surface ripples. The true cost of addiction runs deeper, threading through lives and societies like cracks in stone, invisible until the whole structure begins to fracture. Let's begin with the personal. Picture the moment after the high fades, the cigarette extinguished, the glass empty, the screen darkened in your hand. For a few seconds, there is quiet. Then comes the familiar shadow, guilt, shame, self-disgust. Yet notice carefully, the shame feels oddly safe, almost familiar, like a well-worn jacket. Why? Because it reinforces the story. I am broken. I am weak. I cannot escape. That story, repeated enough, becomes self-identity. And when addiction fuses with identity, it no longer feels like something you have. It feels like something you are. This is one of addiction's most dangerous consequences. It rewrites the very sentence of your existence. No longer, I slipped, but I am free to choose. Instead, this is me. This is what I am. Sartre would call this bad faith in its most intimate form, surrendering freedom and declaring yourself a fixed object, defined by compulsions rather than by possibility. The tragedy is not only in the act itself, but in the shrinking of the horizon of who you could be. But there is more. Neuroscience tells us habits reshape the brain itself. The grooves carved by repetition become rivers, easier and easier to flow down, harder and harder to escape. Addiction teaches your nervous system an implicit truth. Comfort lies only outside yourself. And once the system believes that, genuine presence becomes unbearable. Stillness becomes threatening. Silence becomes suffocating. You become allergic to your own company. The personal consequence? A slow erosion of agency. The longer addictions persist, the more they convince you that life is something happening to you, not something emerging from you. Instead of being an author, you become an audience member of your own story, watching passively as the same scenes loop again and again. Now stretch this across a society. What happens when millions of individuals live this way simultaneously? When each person is trained, neurologically and culturally, to outsource comfort, peace, and meaning to external fixes. The answer is what you see all around you. A culture addicted to distraction, to polarization, to noise. Look closely. Productivity-obsessed economies fuel caffeine cultures, workaholism, and burnout cycles that strip people not only of rest, but of identity itself. Image-saturated media systems fuel epidemics of body anxiety, cosmetic addiction, and endless chasing of approval through likes, shares, and followers. Even the political sphere shows signs of addiction. Outrage has become a drug, manufactured daily by algorithms that know exactly how to spike your dopamine with fury, leaving you both drained and craving more. Here is the bitter irony. Addictions isolate individuals, but fracture societies. Families watch loved ones spiral, not knowing how to help. Workplaces normalize burnout until breakdowns seem inevitable. Communities fracture into micro-identities, each constructing its own little echo chamber, addicted not just to substances or habits, but to certainty itself. Let's pull in the language of psychology. Consider confirmation bias, the urge to seek evidence that justifies what we already believe. In a digital world, this bias becomes a drug. We scroll not to learn, but to feed the hit of validation. I was right again. They were wrong, I am safe. This is not just bias anymore. It is addiction, codified in code, weaponized by platforms that monetize your craving for self-justification. The result? Whole societies are addicted to their own stories, incapable of listening, incapable of dialogue. Isolation deepens, division grows, and beneath these fractures, a darker consequence: despair. Because when addictions rule, the deeper hunger of the soul remains unanswered. The more you feed the mask, the more starved the real self becomes. Hence the paradox of our age. Never before have humans had such an abundance of options, pleasures, distractions. And never before have depression, loneliness, and suicide reached such levels. The comfort numbs but never nourishes. The fire is fed but never warmed. Jung warned that what we exile returns with vengeance. The shadow, ignored and numbed, leaks out in compulsions, nightmares, sudden outbursts, or breakdowns. If not faced directly, the unmet hunger of the soul becomes a destructive force. Addictions, in this sense, are just rehearsals for collapse. Ignore them long enough, and what emerges is not simply a personal crisis, but a cultural one. Generations unable to tolerate silence, unable to construct meaning, unable to live without an anesthetic. Consider this. How many relationships fracture not from one dramatic betrayal, but from the 1,000 tiny distractions of addiction? The partner chooses the screen over the conversation. The parent chooses the bottle over presence. The friend chooses numbing instead of honesty. At scale, these aren't private tragedies. They are the steady corrosion of trust that holds communities together. They are the unseen erosion of intimacy itself. And it does not stop at relationships. Economies thrive on addiction. Entire industries are built, not to heal the wound, but to deepen it just enough to guarantee another purchase, another click, another fix. If recovery were easy, countless markets would collapse. In a twisted inversion, society has no incentive for you to resolve your cravings. It has infinite incentive to maintain them. Addiction is not only personal suffering, it is corporate strategy, and millions, willingly or unwillingly, are playing their part in it like cogs in a grand machinery of dissatisfaction. This is why the unseen consequences feel so insidious, because they are not dramatic explosions you can easily point to. They are quieter, drip by drip. The erosion of agency, the hollowing of attention, the corrosion of intimacy, the conditioning of entire cultures into cycles of craving, where freedom becomes nothing but an illusion. And here is the irony of ironies. You may think you are chasing freedom when you indulge your addictions. Freedom to relax, freedom to feel good, freedom to escape. But in truth, each act tightens the invisible thread. The leash is not pulled hard. It is simply shortened imperceptibly over time until you can move only in circles. Like rats in a maze, endlessly looping through promises, never touching anything like a rival. The consequence is staggering, personal and collective alike. Lives half-lived, societies half-awake, a civilization busy, buzzing, perpetually distracted, while underneath, the human spirit rots from neglect. But within all this despair, there is a hidden opening. Because if addiction reveals the soul's hunger, then to see the consequences clearly is also to glimpse the chance to rebel. To refuse an anesthetic in exchange for raw presence. To break the loop, even if trembling. Which leads us forward. What does rebellion against the machinery of addiction look like? And more terrifying, what might it demand of you if you truly chose to break free? The rebellion. How to break free. Rebellion begins quietly, not with a scream, not with smashing a bottle against the wall, but with something far more dangerous. Awareness. You notice the loop. You recognize the craving not as your true self, but as a compulsive script. And in that moment, something in you whispers, "I refuse." That whisper might be small, but it is dynamite. Understand, most of the world would prefer you did not rebel. Entire industries depend on your sleepwalking compliance. Many relationships depend on your performance of old roles. Even parts of your own mind recoil at the thought, because the mask feels safe. The ritual of addiction gives comfort. To break free is not a single courageous act. It is the willingness to endure rawness, the unsettled silence beneath the craving, long enough for your authentic self to speak again. Carl Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." To rebel, you must first stop running from your shadow. Addiction is the shadow's favorite disguise because it keeps you too distracted to listen. But rebellion listens anyway. It listens to the unbearable ache, the unexplainable thirst, the loneliness you've numbed 100 times. The first act of defiance is to face what the addiction was protecting you from, and to sit with it, unarmored. But here's the paradox. Rebellion is not about controlling the craving harder, gritting your teeth, or conquering with raw willpower. That only tightens the leash, pitting you into combat with yourself. True rebellion is gentler, more radical. It is choosing to stop treating the craving as an enemy and begin treating it as a messenger. Ask the craving, "What are you pointing me toward?" Sometimes the answer is old grief, sometimes loneliness, sometimes a deeper hunger for joy, creativity, or love that was silenced long ago. By listening instead of numbing, you begin to reclaim parts of yourself exiled to the shadow. This is rebellion, not destroying the craving, but decoding it. And yet, rebellion will cost you. Make no mistake, there will be withdrawal, not just of the body, but of the soul. The false comforts you lose will expose raw nerves. People close to you may resist your transformation. The partner unsettled by your decision to stop performing. The friend unnerved by your honesty. Rebellion risks rejection because it threatens the very scripts others have come to depend on. To break free is to risk standing, shaky but alone, without the anesthetic of either substances or approval. You will feel exiled, and this exile is holy. History honors rebels of the soul precisely because of this exile. Socrates questioned the scripts of Athens and drank poison rather than betray his calling. Kierkegaard rode into loneliness, caring more for truth than acceptance. Nietzsche railed against the last man, the one too afraid of risk to live authentically, and accepted isolation as the price of his vision. Their rebellion was philosophical, existential, but make no mistake, your rebellion against addiction is cut from the same cloth. But rebellion need not be grandiose. It can begin in the smallest acts. When the impulse hits, scroll, smoke, pour, eat, pause, close your eyes, breathe, whisper to yourself, "I see you." That moment of noticing creates a crack in the loop, and through that crack, freedom seeps in. Additionally, thrives on unconscious repetition. Rebellion begins whenever you shift the act into consciousness. Rebellion also thrives in solitude. Modern life does everything to prevent stillness, but without it, you remain at the mercy of distraction. Choose 1 hour a week, an afternoon without devices, a walk without music, a coffee without scrolling. Watch how unbearable it feels at first. That discomfort is not failure. It is the shadow surfacing. And if you can endure it, even for a few breaths longer than before, you are already breaking chains older than you realize. You also need community. Not the shallow applause of masks, but authentic presence. Addiction isolates, rebellion connects. Relationships built on truth, however few, will fuel courage more than any self-help technique. The world of masks will try to lure you back. Authentic companions will remind you who you are when you forget. Most importantly, rebellion must redefine your relationship with failure. Our culture worships perfection, yet perfection is the enemy of becoming. You will relapse, you will slip, but rebellion transforms relapse from proof of defeat into proof of the fight. Each return to consciousness is still rebellion. Each unveiling of the mask, however temporary, is authentic. To rebel is not to never fall. It is to refuse to believe that falling erases your freedom. And there is joy here too. Make no mistake, rebellion is not only suffering. Think of children before the mask is strapped on. Fierce, wild, playful, wholly themselves. They stumble and laugh without shame. They create without self-consciousness. Every authentic rebel must recover this spirit. To misstep, to speak raw truths, to move through the world unedited. The joy is fragile, but it is also fierce. The joy of no longer pretending. Rebellion, paradoxically, connects you deeper to humanity. Others suffering in isolation will feel the spark of your honesty. To reclaim yourself is to offer permission for them to do the same. One candid act of courage ripples outward, becoming contagious. Your rebellion is not private. It is a signal flare in a darkened landscape. But here is the crucial clarification. Rebellion is not the destination. It is the crossing. To rebel is to tear down walls, dismantle scripts, face shadows. But tearing down is not enough. You must ask, once the masks are burned, what remains? Who stands on the other side? The rebellion prepares the ground. The ultimate truth grows from its soil. So stand here now, at the threshold. You have seen the hidden roots, the unseen consequences, and you feel the pulse of rebellion rising in your chest. The old world shouts for you to return, back to numbing, back to distraction, back to comfort. Yet something in you resists. You are no longer satisfied with being a prisoner, no longer interested in borrowed expectations. You want something rawer, more dangerous, more luminous. And so we step into the final revelation, not about addictions alone, but about existence itself. If rebellion tears away the false, then the last question is, what, at the deepest level, are you meant to create once the masks are gone? The ultimate truth, the final, most powerful realization. Imagine standing here now, at the smoking ruins of your masks. The endless loops of addiction have been named, the shadows faced, the rebellion begun. For a moment, silence fills the space that cravings once occupied. No bottle in your hand, no screen in your eyes, no ritual to shield you. Just breath, fragile, trembling, alive. It feels terrifying, doesn't it? Terrifying because the anesthesia is gone. Terrifying because you can no longer hide behind the script you lived in so long. Yet beneath the terror, something ancient begins to stir. A stillness, luminous and undeniable. You realize with dawning clarity that all along, addiction was not only a shackle, but also a signal. It was trying to point you toward the most dangerous, liberating truth of all. Here it is. The hunger that fuels your addictions is the same hunger that can fuel your destiny. Every craving you mistook for weakness was at root a misdirected longing for the infinite, for love, for meaning, for creation, for transcendence. Addiction is not your enemy. Addiction is the raw, cracked language your soul was forced to use when its true voice was silenced. If you can translate that language, everything shifts. Think about it. The compulsion's intensity is proof of something. Most people think addiction means distortion, pathology, or flaw. But look again. Why does your body demand with such ferocity? Because your soul longs with ferocity. Desire that strong cannot be extinguished. It can only be rerouted. The final realization is this: what enslaves you in the dark can liberate you in the light if you dare to redirect it. Nietzsche's challenge, become who you are, was never about finding a ready-made essence, waiting neat and finished beneath layers of falseness. It was about creation, the endless task of sculpting yourself from raw clay. Your addictions reveal the very clay: unrefined will, searing energy, insistent hunger. Without this energy, you would stagnate. It is precisely because you burn that you can create. The question is not, how do I rid myself of hunger? It is, how do I channel it into a higher shape? Viktor Frankl saw this in the camps. Stripped of every freedom but one, the freedom to choose one's attitude, he realized that survival depends not on pleasure, but on meaning. What addicts our hearts is not nicotine, not sugar, not dopamine itself, but the brief illusion of meaning they deliver. Each craving is a counterfeit. To rebel is to stop buying counterfeits. To awaken to the ultimate truth is to forge true currency. To pour your aching hunger into meaning you authored yourself. This realization rewrites everything. You no longer need to see yourself as broken, as enslaved, as perpetually weak. You look at your addictions differently now, as reactive maps of where your deepest values were crying for recognition. Porn may have been the mask over a strangled longing for intimacy. Overeating may have been the muffled cry of creativity never expressed. Endless scrolling may have been the spirit's plea for deep communion, hidden beneath a shallow connection. Every addiction was a distorted form of a secret truth. The most powerful realization is this: you don't overcome addiction by erasing desire. You overcome addiction by sanctifying it, by aligning it with what is truest in you. And suddenly, freedom changes its meaning. It is not white-knuckled abstinence, not merely gritting your teeth against temptation. That is just another cage. True freedom is transfiguration. It is when the same fire that once chained you now creates through you, shapes through you, and loves through you. Look at the paradox. The very cycles you once condemned yourself for become sources of wisdom. Shame dissolves when you accept that every relapse, every spiral, Every hidden midnight act was never just proof of failure. It was proof of depth. Only a soul capable of infinite reach could hunger so endlessly. Addiction reveals the immensity of your potential, even as it tries to destroy it. This is why imperfection ceases to terrify you. Addiction taught you, you are not a finished object. You are not a solved riddle. You are a becoming, a symphony in progress. Every craving another note announcing your incompletion. Instead of asking for the perfection of arrival, you accept the beauty of endless creation. You stop yearning for finality. You start living as an unfolding. And here is the most radical truth. Authenticity is not discovered. It is created. Yet addiction is the distorted teacher that pointed you here, forcing you to admit that you cannot numb forever, that your hunger is too vast to be touched by small pleasures. In the end, your addictions reveal your soul's refusal to be satisfied with less than everything. So now, what remains? A choice, but not the small choice of, do I slip tonight or resist? The larger one, what will I create from the energy that once went into numbing? What meaning will you forge so true, so fierce, that no counterfeit craving could compete? Create art, forge intimacy, build truth. Dare to love in unapologetic ways. Dare to serve, to confront, to laugh without disguise. Every authentic expression feeds the hunger in a way no drug, no scroll, no distraction can ever imitate. And here's the quiet miracle. When you live this way, your rebellion stops being only about you. Authenticity reverberates outward. In a world addicted to masks, your courage to live raw becomes contagious. Your very presence permits others to shed their disguises. Addiction isolates you. Authenticity roots you in the collective work of awakening. Picture this. The craving still comes tomorrow. That's inevitable. But this time you recognize it differently. Not as a threat, not as proof of your weakness, but as a messenger. Remember, you hunger because you are vast. You smile, you breathe. You reach not for the bottle or the phone, but for the brush, the pen, the conversation, the silence, for meaning itself. And then each act of authenticity feeds you more deeply than your addictions ever could. The leash loosens, the loops falter, the prison cracks open. This, then, is the ultimate truth your addictions reveal. To crave is to be human, but the object of your craving reveals who you might become. Every destructive hunger points toward a deeper destiny. You are not meant to erase desire, you are meant to elevate it. So now imagine tomorrow. You wake, not as a slave to the old loop, nor as a saint immune to temptation, but as an unfinished creator carrying fire. You know the masks are waiting. #meta, pause, sex, 0.05. The cravings still whisper, but you also know you hold the brush. You hold the horizon. You hold the freedom to transfigure hunger into meaning. And in that moment, trembling but radiant, you begin to live the adventure addiction always tried to hide. Life itself, raw, unmasked, endlessly becoming.